France, Norway, Senegal, Iraq, one of the toughest groups in the 2026 World Cup. Iraq hasn't been at a World Cup in 40 years. They qualified through a FIFA charter flight arranged days before the deadline, with regional airspace closures nearly stopping them from showing up at all. And now they're in a group with France, Norway, and Senegal. That's not bad luck. That's a system. A draw system so complex that FIFA had to redesign the entire World Cup process just to handle 48 teams for the first time in history. New pots, new rules, new bracket logic, built from scratch. Most people watched that draw ceremony and had no idea any of this was happening behind the scenes. They just saw balls coming out of bowls. But once you understand the actual system, the entire tournament...
This wasn't a normal World Cup draw. This was the first ever 48-team draw in history. Previous World Cups had 32 teams, 8 groups, for pots of 8. Simple enough. But 2026 changed everything. 48 teams, 12 groups, for pots of 12. 3 host nations instead of 1. It was the most complicated draw FIFA had ever attempted. And nobody in that room had seen it done before, because it had literally never been done before. That alone should tell you something. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What even is a pot? Think of it like a playlist sorted by quality. FIFA took all 48 qualified teams and ranked them by strength. Then they divided those teams into 4 buckets: Pot 1, Pot 2, Pot 3, Pot 4, with the best teams in Pot 1 and the weakest in Pot 4. The whole point is simple. You cannot have a group where Argentina, France, Brazil, and Spain all have to eliminate each other in the first round. That would be a disaster. You also can't have a group of 4 teams that nobody's heard of. That would be boring. So the pots exist to balance things out. Every group gets 1 team from each pot. 1 elite side, 1 very good side, 1 decent side, 1 underdog. In theory, that keeps the competition fair. So how do you actually decide who goes in which pot? 2 words: FIFA rankings. The November 2025 FIFA World Rankings were the primary tool. The higher your ranking, the better your pot. The lower your ranking, the harder your group gets. It's basically a seeding system, like in tennis, except with 100 more political complications. Pot 1 had the 3 host nations, the United States, Mexico, and Canada, automatically included, regardless of their ranking. That's just how hosting works. You get a top seed. It's been that way forever. Then Pot 1 filled with the 9 highest-ranked nations from the rest of the field: Spain, Argentina, France, England, Brazil, Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany. The usual suspects. You know the type. Pot 2 took the next 12 teams in the rankings: Croatia, Morocco, Uruguay, Japan, Colombia, Switzerland. The dangerous tier, 1.5 nations that don't get talked about until they absolutely destroy you in the round of 16. Pot 3 was next, with teams like Norway, Egypt, Scotland, Algeria, Panama. Pot 4 was the final group, the lowest-ranked sides and the 6 playoff slots that hadn't even been decided yet. Those 6 unknowns were held as placeholders during the December draw and filled in after the March 2026 playoffs. Now here's where it gets interesting. You might be thinking, okay, random draw, 1 from each pot, done. How hard can it be? But there were rules. Multiple rules. And these rules are what actually shape the groups. The first rule: no 2 teams from the same confederation could be drawn into the same group. In plain English, you can't have Brazil and Argentina in the same group. You can't have Germany and Spain together. Teams from the same continent are kept apart because FIFA wants geographic diversity across each group. They want 1 South American side facing a European side facing an Asian side. It makes the tournament more global. There is one exception, and of course it involves Europe. Europe sent 16 teams to this World Cup. 16. But there are only 12 groups. That means math is working. There aren't enough groups to keep every European team separated. So the rule was adjusted. No more than 2 UEFA teams per group. That's the compromise. It's not ideal, but it's what happens when one continent has more qualifying slots than there are groups to put teams in. Here's another thing most people missed. The 4 highest-ranked teams in the tournament, Spain, Argentina, France, and England, were deliberately placed in separate halves of the bracket. FIFA modified the draw specifically so those 4 cannot meet until the semifinals at the earliest. If Spain wins their group and Argentina wins theirs, they physically cannot face each other until the final 4. That decision was built into the structure before a single ball was drawn. Some people love that. Some people thought it was FIFA manipulating the bracket. But honestly, they've always done this. You protect the marquee matchups for the later rounds. Nobody wants to see Spain versus Argentina in the group stage. You want that in the final. And now FIFA has guaranteed it can happen. Then there's the host nation question. USA, Mexico, and Canada didn't just get seeded into Pot 1. They were pre-assigned to specific groups before the draw even started. Mexico went into Group A, Canada into Group B, USA into Group D. Why? Because each host country needs to play their group stage games in their own country. The USA's 3 group matches were already scheduled in Los Angeles and Seattle before anyone knew the opponents. Same for Mexico and Canada. You can't draw a team into a group and then tell them their home game is 3,000 miles away. So the hosts were placed first, the scheduling was fixed, and then the rest of the draw filled in around them. The draw itself happened like this. Each Pot 1 team, the hosts already locked in, was drawn one by one into a group. Then Pot 2 teams were drawn and assigned to groups. Then Pot 3. Then Pot 4. Each time a team came out of the bowl, officials had to check it against the Confederation rules. Can this team go into this group? If yes, confirmed. If no, back it goes and another team is drawn. That back and forth checking is what slows the whole ceremony down and why those draws always feel slightly chaotic even when they're technically organized. The final results were announced live, and within about 30 seconds of France landing in Group I with Norway and Senegal, football Twitter collectively lost its mind. Which was, honestly, the correct reaction. So after all of that, what do the final groups actually look like? Brazil ended up with Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland in Group C. Spain drew Uruguay, Cabo Verde, and Saudi Arabia in Group H. Argentina got Algeria, Austria, and Jordan in Group J. England landed in Group L with Croatia, Ghana, and Panama, which on paper sounds manageable until you remember Croatia have literally been to a World Cup final in the last decade. And then Group I, France, Norway, Senegal, and a FIFA playoff winner. France are one of the best teams on earth. Norway have Erling Haaland, the best striker on the planet right now. Senegal have an incredibly talented squad. One of those 3 teams goes home before the knockout stage. The system that was designed to create balance accidentally produced one genuinely terrifying group, which is kind of beautiful if you're not the team that draws the short straw. So here's the bottom line. We started by asking how FIFA turned 48 teams into 12 groups without it becoming complete chaos. And now you know. For pots ranked by the FIFA World Rankings, 3 hosts pre-seeded and pre-placed. 1 team from each pot per group. Confederation rules to ensure geographic spread. A built-in bracket structure to protect the best matchups for later rounds. And 6 playoff spots held as wildcards until March. That's it. That is the entire system. It sounds simple. It isn't. But once you see it, you realize every single group in this tournament was shaped by decisions made months before the draw even happened. The question now is, did FIFA get it right? Is a system that puts France, Norway, and Senegal together in the group stage actually balanced? Or did the most carefully engineered draw in World Cup history accidentally create the most brutal group in World Cup history? Either way, we're about to find out. Because the tournament starts June 11th. And that group plays out whether anyone's ready for it or not. If you want to break down every single group, who advances, who goes home, and which team is about to shock the world, that video is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it when it drops.